The thin, carbon dioxide-rich atmosphere of Mars, which often looks like a blurry haze in distant space photos, is now revealed in ways never seen before, thanks to the incredible work of NASA's Perseverance rover and the cutting-edge technology that carries it across the dusty, rugged Martian surface, floating 140 million miles away from Earth. This planet, once a cold, unreachable speck in the night sky, is now being brought closer than ever through images so clear and detailed that you can almost feel the grit of the red soil under your fingertips. Mars's fragile atmosphere is not just a veil of gas, it's a restless, shifting blanket that whips up vast dust storms capable of swallowing entire regions for weeks, reshaping dunes and scattering fine particles that settle on everything. What used to be just static, grainy pictures has come alive as high-definition footage reveals the drama unfolding above those rust-colored plains, where wind carves landscapes and tiny whirlwinds dance like fleeting ghosts. But the real heart's moment, the one that had the world glued to screens and mission control holding its collective breath, was what scientists call the 7 minutes of terror. This phrase, as dramatic as it sounds, describes the nail-biting window when Perseverance, hurtling toward Mars at 12,000 miles per hour, had to perform a flawless ballet of engineering to slow down, steer itself, and touch down safely on a planet with an atmosphere so thin that parachutes alone wouldn't do the job. Imagine racing a sports car at breakneck speed and having to come to a gentle stop without crashing, except you're millions of miles away. You can't intervene in real time, and the car is a billion-dollar, one-of-a-kind scientific marvel. To survive this descent, Perseverance deployed a massive parachute to claw at the thin air, then fired thrusters to adjust its speed and trajectory, before finally lowering itself to the ground using an ingenious skycrane system that gently dropped the rover onto the surface, while the crane itself flew away to crash at a safe distance. For the first time ever, this entire sequence was captured in astonishing high-definition video, a front-row seat to one of the most daring and complex feats of space exploration ever attempted. These images weren't just for show, they were invaluable for engineers back on Earth, allowing them to study every flap of the parachute, every puff of dust as the thrusters fired, every tiny tremor as the wheels met Martian soil. It was a treasure trove of data that will make future missions safer, smarter, and maybe one day prepare the way for human explorers to step where Perseverance now rolls. But the landing was just the beginning. Once those wheels were on the ground and the dust had settled, Perseverance got to work immediately, unfolding its robotic arms, testing its instruments, and sending back a steady stream of images and data that would soon transform what we thought we knew about the red planet. The landing site, Jezero crater, wasn't chosen by chance. Scientists have long believed that this ancient crater, with its dramatic river delta formations and signs of dried-up channels, once held a vast lake, fed by rivers that carried sediments and minerals that could still cradle tiny, fossilized hints of life. Imagine a place on a cold, dry world that once rippled with water, where rivers carved winding paths through rocks and deposited layers of mud and clay, layers that could still hide secrets from billions of years ago, when Mars might have looked a little more like Earth. This is what makes Jezero so special. As Perseverance moves carefully across this ancient landscape, its 23 cameras, many of which can shoot crisp 4K video, are capturing every crack in the rock, every swirl of dust, every shimmering layer of sediment that might whisper clues about a time when Mars was not so dry and empty. Unlike earlier rovers, Perseverance isn't just snapping photos. Its cameras are scientific tools that help geologists read the planet's history like pages in a book written in stone and dust. And what a colorful book it is! While we often call Mars the red planet, the images flowing back show a world that's far more complex, a mosaic of rusty reds, golden yellows, burnt oranges, and rich browns, each hue telling a story about the minerals beneath the surface. the water that once flowed, and the volcanic forces that shaped its rugged beauty. These colors aren't just pretty, to look at their vital clues. By studying how light reflects off the soil and rocks, scientists can identify minerals that formed in the presence of water, the chemical fingerprints of ancient lakes and rivers that once rippled under Martian skies. Every rock Perseverance studies, every core sample it drills, brings us closer to answering that huge, lingering question: was there ever life on Mars? If microscopic life once swam in those ancient Martian lakes, maybe tiny fossils or chemical traces still linger in the sediments Perseverance now collects. And here's the thrilling part: some of these carefully stored samples may one day come back to Earth. NASA's plan is bold. Perseverance is gathering these precious cores and sealing them in special tubes, which a future mission could retrieve and blast back home for scientists to study with tools far more powerful than anything that can fit on a rover. Imagine the moment when a tube of Martian soil, dug from an ancient lake bed, billions of years old, is opened in a lab on Earth, revealing the final proof that we are not alone in the universe, that life once flickered, however briefly, on a distant world. To get to this point, though, has taken decades of trial, error, and brilliant engineering. The story of Mars rovers didn't begin with Perseverance. It began in 1997 with a small, boxy robot named Sojourner, part of NASA's Pathfinder mission. Sojourner was tiny by today's standards, weighing just 23 pounds and about the size of a microwave oven. But back then, it was revolutionary, a rolling laboratory that could crawl over Martian rocks, snap photos, and beam back data that gave us our first real taste of what it meant to drive on another planet. Sojourner's mission lasted just 83 days, but it proved that rovers could survive on Mars, laying the groundwork for more ambitious explorers. Then came the twin rovers Spirit and Opportunity in 2004. These two little robots were designed to roam the Martian surface for 90 days, but they smashed all expectations. Spirit trekked across craters and hills for 6 years before it got stuck in soft soil, while Opportunity, the overachiever, kept on going for an astonishing 15 years, sending back jaw-dropping images and rewriting what we knew about Mars's watery past. It was Opportunity that found some of the strongest evidence yet that Mars once had liquid water signs etched into the rocks it studied, minerals that could only have formed in the presence of water. When Opportunity finally fell silent after a massive dust storm, it left behind a legacy that Perseverance now builds on with every new mile it covers. But what makes Perseverance truly stand out is not just its durability or its cameras, it's what it carries inside. Along with its science instruments, it has an experiment called MOXIE, which has already shown it can turn the thin Martian air into oxygen, a crucial step if humans ever want to set up camp on Mars. It also brought along Ingenuity, the tiny helicopter that proved flight is possible in Mars's whisper-thin atmosphere. Watching Ingenuity lift off and hover over alien terrain was like watching the Wright brothers fly for the first time, only this time, the plane took off on another planet. Perseverance and Ingenuity are a team, explorers and scouts, partners in a grand mission to map, analyze, and dream. While the rover crawls over rocks and drills cores, the little helicopter buzzes ahead, snapping photos and helping plan the safest routes through rugged, unfamiliar landscapes. Each mission milestone pushes the limits of what's possible, all while millions of people back on Earth follow along, their eyes wide with wonder at the raw, breathtaking views streaming in from a dusty world so far from our own. Yet for all the cutting-edge tech, the science, the data, and discoveries, maybe the most powerful thing Perseverance gives us is a reminder that human curiosity knows no bounds. It reminds us that we are a species that looks up at the night sky and asks, what if? Could there be life? Could we one day live there ourselves? Could we stand under the cold Martian sun and feel dust swirl at our feet? These questions fuel everything from the first grainy images. Sojourner beamed back to the crystal-clear video of Perseverance's landing, showing us our mechanical explorer dangling from cables as it softly kisses Martian soil for the very first time. Now, as Perseverance slowly rolls across Jezero crater, analyzing rocks and peering into ancient riverbeds, it's gathering clues that will shape how we see not just Mars but our own fragile blue planet floating in the vastness of space. The story of Mars is the story of ourselves. What happens when humans dare to dream bigger than their fears, push past the unknown, and turn science fiction into fact? And while Perseverance digs and drills and snaps its stunning images, we watch from millions of miles away, wondering if that next rock sample, that next camera shot, will show us something no one has ever seen, proof that in the lonely cold of Mars, life once found a way. The adventure is far from over. Every wheel track Perseverance leaves behind is another line in the epic story of exploration, a story that began when we first looked at the night sky and asked, could we go there? Could we survive? Could we find something that proves we're not alone in the vast emptiness? With each mission, each rover, each brave landing, we move closer to the answers. One day, maybe sooner than we think, humans will stand where Perseverance roves today, staring at the same rusty hills and ancient deltas. And when they do, they'll know they're not just standing on Mars, they're standing on the dreams and courage of everyone who dared to believe that the impossible is just the next thing we haven't done yet.